All right. Well, Ciccio, is that right?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Fuck yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate your time. The thing that I
Thank you,
like to
man.
start with, yeah, of course. The thing that I always start with on the podcast before we get into a discussion about the band and all the new material and everything, I like to know about your personal heavy metal history. So, those bands and records that you remember listening and getting into that got you into the genre.
Yeah. And yeah, that's been a while since I'm into the game. And I have actually started mm, playing with punk bands
Oh, nice.
because there were nobody actually interested into heavy music. It's not something you can notice easily back in the days here, especially in my hometown, which is like 60 kilometers from here. I live in Turin, which is kind of bigger, but it's in the province. So usually people go to disco and they're not interested into this kind of bullshit because it takes dedication and
Yeah.
you have to be a bit sick in your mind to have such kind of interest. And so I started to go to punk concerts, oi, that kind of shit. There
Hmm.
was a lot of hardcore since Torino is the hometown for. We have Negazione, which is great hardcore band from the 80s. They played in US many times.
Hmm.
They're historical. And then I started to play with a guy who was into metal, not into extreme metal, but we had basically weekly rehearsal playing Slayer, all kind of Slayer, and I grew up doing that kind of shit. Then I got into the more extreme shit when I was at the high school,
Hmm.
and because I met a friend of mine, which is the guy who now has the band called. He had a band called Bhagavat, which was black metal, and now he has another band called Depths Above. He
Okay.
lives in Czech Republic. He
Wow.
started. He's an engineer, so that's basically why we had different paths. Because I always got into the practice room playing and getting drunk and wasting my time. I'm that kind of guy. He was kind of smarter. He started and he's doing good.
Yeah.
Cheers, Luca. And he now has this band, which is pretty good. It's totally different stuff from Putridity or death metal, but it's sick. I don't know if I answered right because there's a lot. There's 20 years.
Yeah.
We have to cover, and I don't know.
Well, do you remember like bands and records that you listened to that you discovered that kind of got you into the genre and what those were?
I I've been to a gig back in 2001. I was 15,
Wow.
And the band was called Rotten Gore,
Okay. Nice.
which was an old band from here. They used to play with drum machine. There were two people. They were totally sick. I was in awe because when I seen them playing that shit, I suddenly know that I had to do that.
Yeah.
So basically started from because I seen I discovered Cannibal Corpse watching Ace Ventura.
Nice.
Uh, I'm from '86, so I'm that generation which was too late for that shit because there were a lot of old school metallers that you know everybody was bashing at me. Don't start doing anything because everything has died before. There's nothing more to do, nothing more to say. But I don't care. I
Yeah.
never cared anything. That's why I'm still doing it. But you know, that kind of mentality, it's pretty strong here. Yeah.
That's strange. So people just don't want to start bands because they feel like everything's just been
People is
done and there's
fucking
no point.
lazy.
Yeah.
Everybody's lazy and everybody likes to complain.
I mean, I get it, man. Sometimes, people just don't want to they don't want to try, even give it a shot to do
Yeah,
something,
because it
make that
takes
attempt.
effort.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, cuz I do think while yes, you could make the case that yeah, everything's been done, but if you still have a passion for the music, it shouldn't matter. Just play what you love to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Um yeah, you mentioned Cannibal Corpse in Ace Ventura. That's how I also first heard of Cannibal Corpse, but I wasn't quite ready for it when I saw that movie. So it took me years to come back around and be like, who's that band in that movie? And
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
I
that's
had
that
a
was I think a lot of
VHS and
kids.
I stopped the scene and watched it. It was blurred. The tape was blurred because I watched it many times. But when I discovered I had Bloodthirst
Mm,
for my birthday, it was 13 because it was released in '99,
yeah,
and I was 13, and that is still my number one record to this day because it got me into the genre and it's a bible of the riffs for me.
yeah. Who was that when they still had Jack Owen in the band, or did he leave after that? I can't remember. I know.
No, no. There were Jack and Pat.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Jack's like one of my favorite guitarists from that era of the
yeah,
band. Like some of his riffs are so fucking heavy and nasty.
yeah, man.
Um, Gallery of Suicide has probably one of the heaviest things that he's ever written, in my opinion, on it. Like, oh man, yeah, he wrote some good stuff for them, man. I kind of wish they would
Yeah,
bring him on back.
sure.
So when did you get into playing guitar? You mentioned you started going to shows around 15. Were you already playing guitar by then, or did it spark your interest after that?
I I just started 1 year before because I got into music because of my mom.
Nice.
Because my mom wanted me to be a musician since I was 3 years old,
Oh man.
but she she took me to lessons, to music lessons, but I fallen asleep because I was 3 years old, and so she got me to another a school, a musical school
Hmm.
when I was 6, and she wanted me to play piano.
Oh wow.
So I
Yeah.
played piano for 8 years. So that's how I got into music. So, but I always wanted to play guitar. I,
Hmm.
I, I don't know what I had in my mind, but something was because I grew up in a family of Jehovah Witness.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Even all the way over
it's
there in Italy, huh?
it's pretty tough, and so as a young man, you have to be rebellious,
Yeah.
especially in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I knew that something were there. That kind of energy was there, and so I thought that guitar was, you, il mezzo. Mi manca I missed the word.
It's okay, man. Hey.
Uh, but you needed that instrument to play that kind of thing to express myself.
Yeah.
So when I discovered, I was at the high school and bands, some friends showing me, GBH hardcore shit, and they were playing. Nobody was able to do anything because I had to show them like to play exploited,
Oh wow.
like da 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 da, two notes.
Yeah.
But I was the only one able to read music.
Oh wow. Because of the piano stuff, right?
So exactly. So that thing helped me because I never wanted to play classical music
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, but it's helped me a lot. I know a lot of theory. You know, there's two specific ways of see music. There's the one that started and everything should be on the grid and tempo shifts and whatever.
Hmm.
And there's the other way. You have to play, with your belly
Yeah. Yeah. Just
because
play.
you have to feel it, and it it doesn't care if it's 3 or 4. You have to put it in the works, and then you analyze it and you can do something out of it. But yeah,
So
basically, yeah.
using that foundation of knowing piano, so you kind of caught on to music theory pretty well. And I think that's something that translates into brutal death metal, especially because of the
Yeah,
technicality and the speed of it. So I
yeah.
think that's a great
Cool.
foundation to have, for something that you didn't want to play into something that you did want to play with like that genre of music.
Of course, it's helped me to express what I have in my mind because
Mhm.
I remember, especially for example, for degenerating, I was working in a factory. We were cutting metal and folding, and I was hiding behind the machine because I heard the cutter going up tempo with the folder.
Yeah.
So it clicked in my mind. So I had to write it, and I write it on my tobacco. And when I got home, I write it on Guitar Pro and start jamming it.
Wow.
But I had my mindset since I was a kid because I started and I actually learned something which turned to be helpful to write my own
Yeah.
things and express myself.
Man, so that's crazy. You just heard the machine and it just like it got a song in your head and you wrote around the BPM of the machine. Wow. That's pretty good, man. I get it though, because sometimes those machines they do have like that
Yeah,
death metal kind of like punch
yeah,
for like a drum.
yeah. That's pretty metal.
Um, do you remember when you got your first guitar and like how old you were and everything?
Uh, I had my first guitar. It was a classical guitar.
Hmm.
I had it borrowed by one of my friends from school because they had it at home. We were, playing video games and stuff, and I was in the corner trying to play guitar with one string because it just had one string with
Oh
a
no!
with a nail. On the bridge, it was stuck with a nail in it.
Whoa!
So I had just this string, and I was, doing up and down, jerking out, but because I didn't know pretty much nothing about guitar, and nobody was able to teach me anything.
Hmm.
But I had this guitar for 1 month at my place, and so I had to get one. And I had a friend of mine who was into a punk band who lent me one of his guitars,
Hmm.
and pretty much for 1 or 2 years, I played with his guitar, and once I was able to do something, I knew that I can ask my mom to, to get one guitar for me to actually starting because I wanted to play so bad, but I never had, uh,
Yeah.
encouragement by my family because that music sucks pretty much because nobody can understand it, but I understand that nobody can understand. So I had to work. I had to, start to do my business,
Hmm.
and I got my first guitar. It was the Jackson with I recorded the first two albums, the Randy Rhodes in
Oh, nice.
2001 to
Wow,
2002. 2002. Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, it's. I was wondering, with growing up in that religious household, was there a lot of pushback when you started to play death metal and all that kind of stuff, or were they just kind of like,
As I
let him do
said,
it?
I was kind of rebellious when I
Yeah.
was younger. And I used to hang out with skinheads and
Hmm.
punks and that kind of people. Yeah, they were friendly, but my family kind of couldn't understand at the time, and
Right.
so it was something I kept for me. I actually always practice at my place, but nobody anytime showed any interest in because it was the sick guy. But
Yeah.
that's
Was
good.
it? Hey, no, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just, culturally, things are different all over the world. It can't be like accepted everywhere. I totally get that.
Sure.
So was it pretty hard finding members when you first tried to like start the band up? Like, or did you already kind of know people that were like semi
Human
interested?
material is the toughest shit ever because it's the foundation of the thing. If you
Yeah.
want to do the real thing, you need people.
Yeah.
And I started the thing on my own because I was basically the only one interested into that kind of sick shit. I had a friend of mine that was working with me back in the days that he likes that shit, but he wanted to play drums, but
Mm,
you know, it's
that's
kind of challenging.
yeah, that's a tall order.
Uh, So I started the thing my own, and I actually knew Dave from back then, but he didn't want it to because he thought that it was too hard to stream to lo-fi to whatever. And then I did the first two shows on my own, and
Yeah.
then suddenly, because I we were playing together with another band called Hiatus.
Okay.
I was playing bass and vocals, and we were doing something like theory and practice, but not that technical.
Yeah.
But it was technical. I joined the I basically joined the band because I wanted Dave to be playing with my band,
Yeah.
and it took me a while, but I did it, and the rest is history.
So I think the other big question is it's been 10 years since the last record. So
Yeah.
what have you been up to in that 10 years? That's a long time. Like just real life stuff happened. What was going on there that took that time?
A lot of shit happened. Actually, there was the fucking COVID.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was you know, a total strain of events, and we were playing with the drum machine for a while with
Mhm.
the old lineup, and then we found Cedric because actually Steve Shalati from Immolation was
Oh,
in touch
nice.
with me because he was he wanted to help the band, and he told me that Immolation toured with this band called the Monument of Misanthropy, which was the old band from Cedric.
Okay.
And he told me this guy lives not that far from your place, and I think he has you know all the cards to join the band. So we got in touch and we met, and we're still playing together, which is really good because after Dave left the band, I had a really hard time
Yeah.
to find another drummer. Even if we had the real good chance the opportunity to play with Matt Kinner in 2017 when we toured in US. We
Wow.
did 10 gigs with Matt Kilner. That guy is a machine.
Yeah.
He helped us out, and he actually was interested into recording the material as well, but he's got overwhelmed with vitriol, which is doing very good. So it's understandable.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember. That name sounds really, really familiar to me. So, um, yeah, if he's with Vitriol, I've definitely at least have seen Vitriol live. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, were you already working on new material by the time the last record had ended, and it just took 10 years to get it all together and out, or did it take some time to kind of start writing new material?
We're actually working a lot on other stuff,
Mhm.
even if the new album is still to be released.
Yeah.
But I have plenty of material on my computer since 2004.
Wow.
I have plenty of started songs which never went anything anywhere, but there's stuff, there's actual stuff to work on,
Mhm.
and we have We have a lot of material. Yeah, well,
Wow.
and we will do it. Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of figured because 10 years is such a long time, I would think that you're not just sitting around doing nothing, but it's just a matter of like getting people together and figuring out a way to get it
exactly.
out there. That's
As I said before, human material is the toughest
yeah,
of the quests because you need lots of lots of characteristics in one person,
hmm
and everything needs to match. Like-minded people. You need
yeah,
like-minded people, and I finally have a a stable lineup, which is,
that's great.
I am so glad I have these guys to work with me because they're passionate on the thing as I do, and they help me a lot because they actually went to dig into folders. Ciccio, this is sick. We have to do it. We have to do it because I didn't remember.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit, I collected during the years. So I'm glad I have these guys to work with.
So what do you think is like the oldest root of a song you have that's on the new album? Like as far back as stuff you that's just been sitting around.
Uh, for example, the the first song on the which will be on the first album on the next album.
Yeah.
The first song, it's a song I started doing in 2012
Wow.
or before. Yeah, it was supposed to go on in the menus.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Man.
there's a
That's
lot of shifted.
yeah.
Maybe one song was a half in another song, but I messed up, and there's a lot of patchwork, and yeah, like stick and glue shit.
It's pretty normal
But
these days, I think. Like people, the way that like technology has kind of evolved, you can just take those little
yeah,
pieces and
it
riffs
helped
and
me.
put them into a song.
Everything is much easier these days. I remember when I started, I was still messing with tapes and
Oh
shit,
wow.
but it was really bad because you had to have a lot of money to invest to have solid equipment.
Yep.
Mm, Nowadays, with a computer, you can have an orchestra. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do whatever.
So as far as the new record, then, take me a little more into that process of like getting the guys together and going through the riffs to put the songs together, and like how long that took to get to the point where you're going to start recording everything now.
Actually, the songs were pretty much already there because it's old stuff.
Mhm.
I was all of these new songs on the new album are from back when I still had the old lineup.
Okay.
So uh, all the songs shouldn't be new to those guys
Yeah.
because I started to work in those tunes back in the days, but I never had the chance to get into it because all of the shit that happened, and you need to have a calm situation to focus on things.
Yeah.
So I needed to have the new lineup with people that was hungry to get on new material to learn it, to play,
Yeah.
because everything that counts in the end, it's how much you want to play. That's it.
Yeah. So you met these guys and they were all ready to get this stuff together. Um,
Yeah.
how did you guys start recording everything? Did you do like demos and then go into the studio, or how did that process
I
work?
I did I did a pre-production on my own,
Okay,
because
nice.
I actually write all of the drum parts and the guitars, and I had everything written down. I am, anxious to start working with the guys on new stuff,
Hmm.
because they're they're passionate on the genre. They know the genre,
Yeah.
actually. So it's good to have a cooperation with different visions, because I think that it's the main point to have a band, because you want to work with people and to create something unique, because you have different visions of something similar.
Yeah. So was the recording process pretty quick for you guys, or did it take a little? Like, was it over the course of time, or what? Um,
Uh, it didn't took us that much, but we had to wait a lot, because our drummer lives in France, and he actually plays with lots of bands,
mhm.
and he wanted to go to record to Cola Killer Studio
Oh wow.
in the Frankenstein forest. It took him not that much, but we had to wait to get the material from the studio and that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Next time we want to record everything at our practice room, because you know it in my opinion, you don't need to have the most skilled engineer to get the best result. You need to have somebody that knows the actual music,
Yeah.
because in that only way you can have the best result from it, because you know where everything has to stay, because music, especially when you do a mastering or mix, you can figure the bass stays here and the drums is there in the center, and you can figure shit out, but you have to know the music.
Yeah.
So you can pay stellar studios, but if they don't know, you have to be able to speak your mind to who's working with you. So I think the best solution is to work on your own, because nobody can know shit better than you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Yeah, and I think the good thing with the genre of music too is like it doesn't need to be overproduced because it does have a very specific rawness to it that people want to hear.
These days, there's a lot. There's plenty of critics that everybody knows everything.
Hmm.
When we did mental prolapse, I had to discover that a master was needed,
Oh
because
yeah.
I didn't know, because we did ACD, we mixed it, so it's ready. But nowadays, everybody knows everything about vinyls and frequencies and whatever. I love raw productions.
Hmm.
I like when the tweaker goes. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool. I like the guitars to be like this. Engineers cut the bass. They
Uh,
clean. Why do you have to be clean?
yeah, it doesn't make
It's
sense.
metal.
Yeah.
That's metal. It's not clean.
Yeah.
It, it doesn't make sense. But they say that it has to be. They have to be able to sell it. But who's buying? People like me, like you, that
Right.
we like raw shit. We like raw stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not gonna go to some random person on the street and be like, "Hey, would you like this Putridity record?"
Exactly. It doesn't make sense at all. Where do you want to go on television?
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Right.
praise Satan.
Oh man, yeah, it's interesting that I feel like there has been a more resurgence of, at least in the metal scene, of like brutal death metal kind of making like this nice little comeback, because it's been like one of the more underground genres for like a very long time, but it's gaining a lot more acceptance. I think people want that rawness and just that insanity that only comes from brutal death metal.
Yeah, that's the place.
Yeah. Actually, so I read this. I didn't know if this was true, but I figured I would ask you. You designed the logo for the band yourself, like
Yeah,
everything? Did you draw it?
yeah. I
Oh,
have
nice.
a paper at my mom's house with a lot of sketches.
Hmm.
There were three or four different logos. One was very similar to the one from Impure from Spain,
Okay.
because I was really into that band, and we actually played a show or two with them. They were totally sick,
Nice.
and but I had to shift for the one that we actually have.
Yeah, that is a lost art today, man. You do not see bands like drawing or making their own logos anymore. It's all sent off to a graphic designer. Nowadays, people want to AI logos and all that fake shit. So I love hearing when a band is like that hands on, where they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna draw my own
Do
logo."
it yourself, man.
Yeah, DIY.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was supposed to be.
the logo.
No, and DIY.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
Everything was supposed to be DIY. Because
For the band.
I don't consider myself more than a punk musician, because that's what
Yeah,
I am. Because I work in a factory, you know.
yeah. I think that's a lot of thing like most average listeners kind of forget too. Is like most people in bands have real lives outside of the music. You know, not all of them tour 24/7, 365 days a year. Like the ones that do get to tour are very lucky. You know, and most of them just go back to a day job when they're done off the road.
We're blessed
Yeah, yeah. It's
because we can make it.
yeah,
Until we can do it, we're really blessed because we have the opportunity to do something we love to, but it's not to take for granted.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, the fact that you took the time over 10 years to get this album and finally get it out, I bet it's got to feel great that we're coming
Yeah,
up here in
man.
a couple months to the release.
Yeah, man. I'm pumped like I was when I was 20.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of time, man. That's so much time to like be just always working on it and just having that patience too, instead of like rushing something out just to get it out there, like taking that time and letting it come out when it comes out.
Yeah,
One,
there's actually people that it's telling that we rushed things with the EP,
oh, really?
with GGG.
Huh.
But I don't care because that it sounds like a demo. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like a demo because it is. But we just wanted to show that, hey guys, we're still here
Yeah.
and we have new shit, and this is the old shit. That's how we're doing it.
I think having something like that too just lets people know you're still around and working on stuff, which, I
Yeah,
don't think rushing it is that's kind of crazy people would say that. It's funny.
everybody got opinions.
Yeah. Yep. That is true, man, especially in this day and age with the internet. One last little thing I want to talk about here, the cover art, man. You guys got Paolo to do the cover art. How did that come about?
Paolo Giarardi
Yeah.
is a
One of the most
legend.
prolific. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
is so sick. Every of his works is outstanding. So I thought that it was a good option to ask him, and I also appreciate him for his attitude
Hmm.
because he's underground. It's not, the artist, the poly artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, is a metalhead, and we love to work with him, and he did a great job.
Yeah. He does he did you have to get him in advance? Like, is he usually booked up pretty far in advance, or was it fairly easy to like schedule him to get the art?
Yeah, he's got a pretty busy schedule,
Hmm.
of course,
Yeah.
because he's one of the best. But we had it ready since 1 year, which is the
Oh, cool.
thing that the question will come out sooner or later because of the vulvectomy.
Yeah.
Because everybody complained about they stole the artwork, but nothing like that. We had it ready since a while, since 1 year. But I remember we had Devangelic playing with Mesa Safet here in Turin
Hmm.
last year. And I had the guys from Devangelic in my practice room, and he showed me the cover. So, fuck, it's the same, but
Oh
at
man.
least everybody loves pussy. So, cheers.
I mean, I think there's been multiple covers over the decades that have like used the same framing of that. So it happens, but is it exactly the same? No, no, it's not exactly the same.
It's not exactly the same because I think our cover depicts a story.
Yeah.
There's the subject is Mors Mater Nostra, which is the mother who is strangling the child
Oh
inside.
wow. So did you give him that concept or did he kind
Yeah,
of come up? Okay, nice. Damn.
yeah,
He nailed it then.
yeah, man. Sure, we're totally happy with his work.
I'm a little curious. Does he like let you guys have a copy of the art or does he keep all the original stuff himself?
If you want to get the actual piece
Yeah.
of art, you have to buy.
Okay.
He can sell it to you, but I didn't.
I'm sure it's a pretty high price. I can imagine, man.
Yeah, it's art. It's real
Yeah.
art.
Oh man.
It's a big picture like this.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. I've watched a couple like social media videos of him painting his pieces, and they're so massive
Yeah,
compared to what they
man.
get shrunk down to, and it's like the scale that he works on is insane. I think
Yeah,
that's why
sure,
he's
man.
one of
It's
the best.
insane artist.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing you guys got to work with him, and now you got a legendary cover by a legendary artist. All right. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. As far as people listening to this and watching this, when can they? I'm gonna save this back until like closer for the record release. But where can people find it, and how can they support you guys in the meantime for when the record does come out?
We got shirts, we got CDs, we got merchandise. You can write to me on my page or on the band page on Facebook or Instagram. We're gonna have copies of the new album in late June,
Okay.
and we'll be playing some shows in Europe this coming period. We're playing Berlin in 2 weeks,
Nice.
Berlin That Fest. We're having two gigs in UK in July, and we're having a tour in Asia this summer. We're gonna do two gigs in Japan and
Ooh,
a couple shows in Indonesia. Finally,
dang, that's
come
amazing.
to Indonesia. We're
Yeah.
coming, and thanks a lot for the support. Keep supporting the Bad Taste campaign. Stay sick.
All right, Chicho. Thank you so much for doing the podcast, man. I appreciate
Thank
you
you so much
taking the
for your
time.
time, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's good to have you guys back. 10 years has been a long wait, so I'm stoked for the record when it comes out, man.